Prof. Nadine Peterson, Executive Dean, Faculty of Education. Prof. Mdutshekelwa Ndlovu, our inductee tonight. Prof. Dirk Wessels, the respondent. He is a Professor Extraordinaire in Mathematics Education at Stellenbosch University. Leaders, senior leaders at the university, members of Senate and other academics, family and friends of Professor Ndlovu, all our distinguished guests, and everybody who is joining us also online. Sanbonani, goeienaand, good evening, Tobela. It is indeed a great honor and special privilege for me to welcome you to the Professorial Inaugural Lecture of Professor Ndlovu. As I do so, I wish to express a warm welcome to his loved ones, special guests and colleagues. Here I wish to single out his wife, Mrs. Sibongile Ndlovu, and his children who are here tonight, Privilege Ndlovu, Prudence Ndlovu, and President Ndlovu. A warm word of welcome to you. Also, of course, welcome to all the colleagues from the Faculty of Education and all the other special guests who are here. It is indeed a proud and joyful and a landmark moment for all of you, for Professor Ndlovu, for us here at UJ, and for higher education in South Africa and beyond. The inauguration of professors is a public ceremony in which newly appointed professors are inducted into office by the Vice-Chancellor and deliver their inaugural addresses. I serve on the Vice-Chancellor's behalf tonight. The ceremony has its roots in the medieval university and serves multiple purposes. Firstly, it is an expression of welcome and an entry for new professors joining the circle of colleagues who are already professors. Secondly, it provides a platform for the professors to display their expertise in the discipline and showcase their research. In isiXhosa we say, ukuteswa, isidanga, kwisigaba, sobunjingwa lwazi. This, loosely translated, refers to assuming the role of professor. Of course, in colonial traditions, subscribed to by universities, this refers to the gown and the cap. Traditionally, the wise one would accept a blanket, ingubo. Once we have listened to the inaugural address, the gown, or ingubo, denoting the professorship, will be formally assumed. We gather tonight to bear witness to the entry of Professor Ndlovu to the illustrious community of scholars at the university. It is a celebration of the contributions to the discipline and ultimately the impact on society. Professors provide a university with its identity, character, academic legitimacy, and integrity. The inaugural lecture is a rite of passage following the confirmation of the appointment of the person as a professor. This evening, we will listen to Professor Ndlovu as the gown goes to town. By this, we mean that the power of the inaugural address is when the expertise is showcased beyond the corridors of the university and reverberates in society and with society. It stands out as a moment of pride for the incumbent, the family, fellow scholars, the university, and ultimately society. For the German philosopher and diplomat Humboldt, a university referred to the whole community of scholars and students engaged in the common search for truth. Newman talked about teaching universal knowledge. Recently, universities have been viewed as instrumentalists serving the purpose of the economy or a utilitarian purpose. Why did I know I would not say this word right? Utilitarian in purpose. I would hope that we can break out of these narrow conceptualizations and reflect on the university as contributing to the public good. Edward said in an article, and the article's title is On Defiance and Taking Positions. And he offers a formulation of the ideal role of the true intellectual. And he says it's one who commands a vast knowledge of the individual's discipline, who's rigorous in the analysis of literature, who views being an intellectual as a vocation, the intellectual who considers it necessary to step into the public sphere and to speak truth to power, namely to question, interpret, and understand authority rather than consolidating it, to step out of the boundaries of the academy, to connect oneself, to affiliate oneself, to align oneself with an ongoing process of contest of some sort, perhaps with the aim of improving the lot of the oppressed. The intellectual who functions as a kind of public memory to recall what is forgotten or ignored, to make the connections that are otherwise hidden, and to provide alternatives for mistaken policies. We indeed need these type of true intellectuals in our society. It remains then for us as a university with a Pan-African vision to derive our mandate as intellectuals and as professors. How do we embrace the role of a professor as a disruptor while continuing to be a flagship carrier of our disciplines? This evening, we will listen to Professor Ndlovu as one further step in the journey of being a professor. This is a journey which does not culminate once this lecture has been given. It's actually a beginning. It is a self-reflective pause in the journey of the professor, with a promise of more to enrich our minds and simultaneously contributing to the rich intellectual body of work in the discipline. Let me now invite the Executive Dean, Professor Nadine Peterson, to introduce Professor Ndlovu. I thank you, Riale Boga, Nyabonga, baie dankie.
Thank you, Prof. Gravett. It gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to read out some short snippets from Professor Ndlovu's CV this evening. Professor Ndlovu, or Professor Mdu as we also affectionately call him, began his teaching career by training as a primary school teacher, majoring in mathematics and obtaining a diploma in education at the University of Zimbabwe in 1985. He then went on to complete a BSc degree in 1995, a B.Ed degree in 1997, a master's degree in 2004, and finally his doctorate in mathematics education in 2007 under the supervision of Professors Dirk Wessels and Michael de Villiers. In all, Professor Mdu spent 12 years as a primary school teacher and principal, 10 years as a secondary school teacher and principal, and has just completed 20 years in higher education. His higher education career began in 2003 when he was appointed a mathematics lecturer at Teachers College affiliated to the University of Zimbabwe. And thereafter, he moved to the National University of Science and Technology in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. He secured a postdoctoral position at Tshwane University of Technology in 2009, and then a permanent position as a Deputy Director of Research at Stellenbosch University in 2010, a position he held for 9 years, and then he was promoted to the position to the rank of Associate Professor in 2016. In October 2018, he was appointed Associate Professor of Mathematics Education in the department that he currently still has a position in, Science and Technology Education in the Faculty of Education at UJ. In 2019, he was appointed Vice Dean for Research and Postgraduate Studies in the faculty, a position he still holds because he's in his second term. So thank you, Prof. Mdu, for your service to the faculty and the institution. At the same time, he also served as the faculty Research Ethics Chair, a position he held for 4 years. In 2022, he obtained a C2 NRF rating and was subsequently promoted to full professorship, which culminates in today's Professorial Inaugural Lecture. He is currently an Associate Section Editor for Pythagoras, a DHET accredited and Scopus listed mathematics education journal, and he is a member of numerous national and international mathematics organizations and associations. And in this capacity, he has presented several keynote addresses and plenary sessions at national conferences. He is also a regular reviewer of accredited local and international journals and has recently co-edited a Routledge scholarly book on ICT in STEM education in Africa. With this impressive CV, I'm sure we are all looking forward to enjoying the insights Professor Ndlovu will provide for us in his inaugural lecture on his topic of mathematics, or his specialization of mathematics education. Thank you.
Good evening, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin this presentation by recognizing a number of colleagues that have made a huge contribution along the way. So, Vice Chancellor, distinguished scholars, and guests, it is my singular honor to witness this day and the privilege that UJ is hosting it. Allow me, Vice Chancellor, to briefly acknowledge those that have graciously accompanied me in this journey. First of all, UJ itself for offering me an opportunity to come and work here as an Associate Professor of Mathematics Education in 2018. In particular, Professor Gravitt for encouraging me to apply for the post of Vice Dean in 2019 and for supporting me thereafter when she was the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education. And I'm proud that today she's standing in for the Vice Chancellor, so we cannot be separated.
Indeed.
And then I want to extend my gratitude to the faculty management, faculty members, the SciTech Ed department, and mathematics education unit members for their support in the execution of my academic and management duties. I want to extend a special word of gratitude to all my PGCE, B.Ed honors, masters, and doctoral students who I can say acted as foot soldiers in this journey. My current Executive Dean, Professor Nadine Peterson, I would like to thank her for her unwavering support as her right-hand man and for encouraging and supporting me to apply for promotion. The inspirational leadership of UJ's VCs, DVCs, HODs, and even the deans that I have worked under need to be acknowledged. I would like especially to recognize and thank Prof. Umesh Ramnarain, my HOD, and the Prof. Maropeng Modiba, my designated mentor, for acting as pillars of support at all times and in all issues. A special word of gratitude goes to Professors Derek Wessels and Michael de Villiers for their impeccable mentorship during my M&D studies. Professor Wessels really acted like a father for a long, long time. I want to extend a special word of gratitude to my friends, my colleagues, my workmates, and relatives for their never-ending moral support. They made me believe in myself and made life worth living. Last but not least, I want to thank my wife of 35 years, Sibongile Nimo, and our 5 lovely children that we're blessed with. Privilege, who is here, Prudence, who is here, Provident, who is in Cape Town, Precedence, who is here, and Purity, who is in Cape Town. It's a divided family. Part of it is here in Joburg, but part of it remained in Cape Town. I couldn't completely uproot the family as a whole. I also want to extend gratitude to my 85-year-old dad and my departed mom for the gift of life, and for taking care of my physiological and educational needs when I could not do so myself. Lastly, I thank the Almighty for the intellectual endowment and the strength of character that have brought me this far. Colleagues in our culture, my culture, a person does not belong to oneself. It is our collective pride today that I am because you were there every step of the way of the journey. Rationale for the research in mathematics education. Mathematics, colleagues, has often been labeled as having the dubious honor of being the least popular subject in the curriculum. The claim is made that future teachers go through primary school learning to hate mathematics. They drop it in high school as early as possible. I've seen this happen over and over again in my career. They avoid it at teachers' colleges since it is not an entry requirement unless one wants to major in mathematics. They return to the school system to teach a new generation to hate the subject, unfortunately. What are the implications for teacher education, initial education, or even in-service teacher education? There are many and tremendous. Mathematics on its own is a very important subject, often referred to as a gateway subject. That means it opens gates once one passes it or succeeds in it. And therefore, it is imperative for researchers and teachers to reflect continuously on how it is taught and learned. South African learners, as an example, perform poorly in international benchmark tests such as the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, or even in the National Senior Certificate exams, let alone in the national benchmark tests. Rationale for integrating digital resources into mathematics teaching and learning. The literature informs us that the following are possible benefits of integrating digital resources into mathematics teaching and learning. It increases students' interest in learning mathematics playfully. It increases students' motivation to learn mathematics. It increases and prolongs the students' engagement with problem solving. In turn, prolonged engagement improves academic achievement. In turn, prolonged engagement fosters independent or critical thinking. It further promotes collaboration and inquiry-based learning among students, because there are those who know less and are supported by those who know more. Unfamiliarity with technology, however, can inhibit ICT usage. Usefulness of digital resources, however, can galvanize the adoption of ICTs and in turn, the development and mastery of not just problem-solving skills, but also critical thinking skills and complex communication skills, all of which are easily identifiable as 21st century skills. Information and communications technology or digital resources can impact student learning positively, as seen in the previous slide. More especially if teachers are digitally literate themselves and positively disposed towards these resources and have the competencies to integrate them seamlessly, fluently into the mathematics curriculum. Colleagues, it doesn't mean that availing the technology makes it instantly useful to everybody. We've experienced situations where laboratories have been kept locked to protect the computers for a long, long time, but only because there are no teachers to teach using those devices. Some advantaged schools in Q1 and Q5 use a diverse set of digital resources to help learners to perform better, but it is not all of them. Even in the advantaged schools, before COVID, many laboratories, computer laboratories, stood like idly. However, Q1 and Q3 schools do not even have those ITC resources or infrastructure or technical support, nor do they have the teacher professional development that must go together with that. Hence, we witness that even though the world is marching ahead and claiming to be in 4IR and claiming to be digitally compliant and literate, the digital divide must not be forgotten between rural schools and urban schools. Even in urban setups, between schools in informal settlements and schools in the township, or schools in the township and schools in the former or in the suburbs, so-called former Model C schools. South African learners, we hope that they can perform better if given equal opportunities in the integration of digital resources in the teaching and learning of mathematics, and so perform better in teams, NSC and NPT examinations. Top IC tools for teaching and learning mathematics. Colleagues, there are all these new tools like Blackboard here, which is used at UJ very often, Moodle, which I used in my previous institution, and Sakai, which is used also in other institutions around. But this is not the end of the list. And these tools have got numerous capabilities. We also have some on the open platforms, such as Google Classroom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and both available and applicable to schools and HEIs. Then we have mathematics-specific digital tools. Some of these come in the form of spreadsheets. Some of these come in the form of graphing calculators. And among graphing calculators, you can include quadratic inequality calculators. And then some come as dynamic mathematics software, alternately referred to as dynamic geometry software or dynamic digital tools. And examples of these are GeoGebra, Sketchpad, Cabri, Amos. They come both as open source and a free online software. And then we also have statistical programs like SPSS, which is available as an open source, offline, and also an online SPSS software. Colleagues, is there any correlation between mathematics, the integration of digital resources, and decent living? This is a fundamental question. ICT is strongly correlated with mathematics. Why? Computer programmers, software, and programming languages are difficult to follow without sufficient background knowledge of mathematics. The logic required is mathematical logic and very synonymous with what happens in the mathematics classroom. Hence, a strong mathematics background is required. For engineers and computer programmers, mathematics is often viewed as the language by which 4IR tools are written. That is to reinforce the idea that mathematics is actually the language that technology is written on or in. To deny students mathematics learning with digital resources, in my view, is invariably to deny them the tools by which to earn a decent living through high exchange 21st century careers. These high exchange careers can only be accessed, or in the majority of cases, they can be accessed via mathematics. To deny students internet access, therefore, is to deny them cognitive justice, epistemological justice, social justice, and by extension, basic human rights in the 4IR era, which is an antithesis of what the United Nations stands for in SDG 4. Just by way of non-intimidating illustrations of how, of what this technology can do in the classroom. We can see there, we can model a quadratic function, which is alternately referred to as a parabola, and with all the measurements and the shapes and everything. And the student can interact with that graph in real time. But you can also move and have a context in real life that you can model using some of these tools, so that whatever mathematics that the students are taught is relevant for real life. That is Moses Mabhida Stadium. And that picture was put on GeoGebra and by one of my PhD students. And so students relate very closely to an inverted parabola. And so it has more meaning. We can also model the derivative, which is a calculus concept, as an instantaneous rate of change. So you can put a tangent at any of the points of the parabola, and then as you move that tangent around, everywhere where it touches the parabola, that's the concept of instantaneous rate of change. You can take that a step further and look and model what is called the rate of change concept of the derivative. Now, this one will grow as a straight line graph. So as you animate the tangent, you draw a straight, which has a given formula that should connect with the derivative that would calculate for that particular graph. So it's not only the tangents and derivatives. You can also teach trigonometric ratios and connect them to real life situations, like the Wheel of Excellence in Cape Town, and give them tasks and questions related to that. And you can also actually draw the kind of sine graphs and cosine graphs that students can relate to. Rationale for the stadium, colleagues who have already indicated that it is to make mathematics useful in real life. Research methodologies privileged in my research. I align with the pragmatic paradigm, which accepts the coexistence of both interpretivist and positivist worldviews. The research approaches in this paradigm include mixed methods approaches, whether exploratory, explanatory, or concurrent or sequential, and varying combinations. Advantages of this are that complementarity of deductive reasoning, which is a positivist or theory verification, goes together with the inductive reasoning, which is interpretivist and contributes to theory building reasoning. Colleagues, this dual approach is extremely important because whenever you see something from one angle, you actually miss what is on the other angle. Now, hence, most of the research methods have been in teaching experiment methodology, design-based research, hypothesized learning trajectory, local instruction theory, and quantitative analysis methods such as significance testing, practical significance testing, correlation design, path analysis, structural equation modeling, and so forth and so on. The list goes on. What are the recent publications on the integration of ICT, digital resources in mathematics education? That is the list, colleagues, who have touched on teachers' perceptions, digital resources and transitions with different authors, and graphing calculators. We've already mentioned them to solve specific mathematics problems, how students can be assisted. And then we are also interested in attitudes and orientations of teachers, whether pre-service or post, or pre or post, or in service, so that we can study what affects their adoption of these resources. That is an example of a study that we carried out. And then recent publications, quite a number of them with different types of students. Some are PDRF, some are masters, some are doctoral students. Colleagues, it's been a hectic time to make sure that whatever the students do and I do is put out in the domain. And putting it out in the domain makes it scholarship of teaching and learning. Unless what we do is published, it means it is swept under the carpet. Some recently completed studies, colleagues, I'll not go through them one by one, but these are the foot soldiers that I mentioned. And then we can come to ongoing research on integrating digital resources. I'm proud to mention some of my master's students, Spelele Mhlongo, Faith Manana, Sponoguhle Nchangase, Bongani Mzelem. I hope some of them are here. And then doctoral students, Kutsai Mtenje, Majanis Loane, Annelise, Hildebrand, and Trust Chombo. So we have sleepless nights, but what it boils down to really is that there must be a relationship between those three components. Digital resources cannot teach on their own. Hence, you need them on the one hand. Secondly, on the left hand, you need learners and teachers who will embrace these tools. And then on the right-hand side, we cannot forget about the content that we have to teach to our students. So an integration of those three aspects will lead to effective integration of ICTs into education, into mathematics education. Concluding remarks, colleagues, my research affirms that digital resources can serve as a motivational tool in the teaching and learning of mathematics. They can make collaborative learning possible through social, cognitive, and teaching presences, and more feasible for both the weaker and the stronger learners. Digital resources can help learners spend less time on routine procedures and focus more on higher order thinking skills because they leave the procedures to the machine. Digital resources by themselves, however, cannot do much. I think we've raised this point. It has to be in the hands of creative and innovative teachers and responsive learners. Poor teachers blame the students. We know that. But given the right tools, the students can actually work ahead of the teacher. This is the exciting part. With increased adoption of digital resources, we therefore expect that there can be an improvement in the results in mathematics, whether it's local or international tests. Future directions, colleagues, it was mentioned already that I recently co-edited a Routledge scholarly book with my HOD, Prof. Ramnaren, who I've indicated has been a major pillar of support. Prof. Ramnaren is here at the back, colleagues, who have worked very closely on an intellectual level. Thank you so very much. And then I see my research going forward broadening to the use of virtual and augmented reality, as well as artificial intelligence tools to teach mathematics and enhance the social impact that the VC the new VC talks about. It is quite relevant and apt. The research will therefore continue to most directly contribute to the attainment of United Nations Sustainable Development Goal on quality education. Colleagues, sometimes we are not satisfied until we put every scholar on a ruler. And some of the rulers we use here are the Scopus, Google Scholar indexes and the Scopus indices. I'll not mention them. They are very important to me, but they might be nothing to the person who has achieved more. But we still continue to march on. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see these metrics grow and to continue to get the support of my colleagues in the faculty. With these few words, colleagues, I thank you all for your attention. Vice Chancellor, thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. Thank you for the opportunity for being here, Professor Ndlovu. I'm looking at the friendship with you over 23 years, and I remember your loyal orientation and approach to me since the first day we met. I first want to find out from you, what kind of professor are you? We both worked at UNISA. They have the distinction there between a Kortbroek and a Langbroek professor. Kortbroek being the associate one and the Langbroek being the full professor. So you are now a Langbroek professor. Please note, it is not a clan. In terms of your title and your presentation, it's for the fourth industrial revolution. We have tried to formulate a new framework to the teaching and learning of mathematics for the fourth industrial revolution era in 2023. And that is quite a challenge and not an easy task. Some people will say you have more guts than common sense. Our discussion is going back to 1945 with Georg Polya, the father of the problem-solving idea in mathematics. He has started in the 40s of the previous century in mathematics education with what we are doing today in a most refined way. We are learning mathematics through problem solving. So first of all, we learn mathematics only by doing mathematics. We learn mathematics by knowing how children think about mathematics. And we learn mathematics by solving problems in mathematics. We must invest more in the following three things in South Africa when thinking of our mathematics teachers. That is problem solving, mathematical modeling, use and mastering of ICT tools, DMS, like dynamic mathematics software. Henry Pollack is taking us back to mathematical modeling because he is without any doubt one of the pioneers in the field of applications and modeling in mathematics. He said, problem solving either does not refer to the real world at all, or if it does, it usually begins with the idealized real-world situation in mathematical terms and ends with a mathematical result. In contrast, modeling begins in the unedited world, and after engaging in problem formulation and problem solving, the modeler moves back into the real world where the results are considered against the original context. So looking at problem solving, we have one cycle of 4 phases, but modeling might be several cycles and 7 phases. So the crux of success with ICT tools for me is students know their mathematics, they must be a user of ICT, and they solve mathematical problems with ICT. For the teachers, they have to know their mathematics, they have to know their ICT, and they have to do the integration of mathematics and ICT. When we get to mathematization, which for me is the heart of mathematics, we can say that mathematization is an organization of mathematical experiences by mathematical means. The nature of mathematics should be taught through activities, according to Hans Freudenthal in 1973 in one of his famous books. That forms the framework and basis for mathematical modeling. Pierre Bicard from UNISA, a former student of mine, has done brilliant studies and a master's in 2010 on modeling and a PhD in 2013. But we are warned against demathematization by Rizos, Patronis, and Papadopoulou in a 2021 article. They gave a good analysis of the dangers of demathematization. This is when learners use calculators as a form of technology and, for example, put in the numbers substitution and have no idea what the answer should look like, the black box idea. Experienced math teachers will know this very well. Or they have no means to check whether the answer is meaningful or acceptable, or they use a DMS and select a formula and have no idea how to align the outcome with the question. It also happens when a hand calculator is used to add simple numbers or to solve simple problems. So let's look now at a simple problem. Our school system may also be responsible for the demathematization effect. Here we have a simple problem for the primary school. Please note, primary school. The trousers for children cost between 300 Rand and 350 Rand. T-shirts cost between 200 and 250 Rand. Determine the maximum and minimum of the amount the parent must pay for 2 trousers and 3 T-shirts. The cost for the trousers between 300 and 350, the T-shirts between 200 and 250. What will be the price of 2 trousers and 3 T-shirts? So for me, the problem lies when you decide you are going to use X and Y, because in the primary school, they will not use X and Y, in the senior primary well, and also in the junior secondary. So let's look at this. Let X be the price of a trouser and Y be the price of a T-shirt. Then X is between 300 and 350, and Y is between 200 and 250. Then for 2 trousers, we have X between 600 and 700. And for 3 T-shirts, we have 3Y between 600 and 750. So adding the two inequalities will give you 2X plus 3Y between 1200 and 1450. Thus, the parent will pay between 1200 and 1,450 rand. That much sounds very simple to you, but in fact we are relying here on the heavy and integrated system of algebra. That is a step up for the abstraction level that we are working here. And this is when you follow blindly the rules of algebra to solve a problem. So please be aware of the dangers of demathematization by technology. Prof. Ndlovu, congratulations with your promotion, and thank you for the contributions you are making to promote problem solving, modeling, and the use and mastering of ICT or DMS tools in the teaching and learning of mathematics. Also, congratulations to your wife Bongi and your 5 children, Privilege, 35 years of age, Prudence, Provident, Precedence, and Purity, 18. They have always provided a strong support system for you. You let them shine, and they shine through you. Take good care of them. God bless your work. And as I said many years ago, Helena, in my own inaugural lecture, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
There we go. Let's do the hat. Aha. I don't know. I don't remember. Right, I don't know. Congratulations. Wonderful. All of the best to you. Warm word of congratulations, Prof. Mdu. And before I say more, you know, this evening when I said I knew in advance that I wouldn't be able to say utilitarian. I knew it. But then I also realized that I was in very good company. Some of you might know Stephen Fry, who writes beautifully and who has the most beautiful voice ever. And he was the narrator of Harry Potter books in the UK. And he tells the story that there was a phrase that he just couldn't say. Now, he says, I can say Harry, and I can say pocketed, but there's no way that I can say Harry pocketed it. And you know, the moment one develops a fear for the words, you actually can't say them at all. But well done to you, Prof. Ndlovu. There were no words that you were scared of tonight. And so you did very well. No struggle with words that kept you back. Well done to you, and a warm word of congratulations. I can absolutely associate with some teachers teaching learners to hate mathematics. I remember my own journey with mathematics. There were times that I liked mathematics, and there were times that I absolutely hated mathematics. And there was a very clear correlation between who the teacher was. Because a teacher actually becomes the subject. And I wish more teachers would realize that they embody the subject when they teach it. And therefore, they can be the inspiring people, or they can put you off a subject forever. And you make the case that there might be other ways to address this, even though we hope that the teachers that we produce will understand their important role in embodying the positive in mathematics. That we can also use digital resources, ICTs, because they are motivating, they bring in fun, playfulness in teaching. But you also emphasize that we have a reality in South Africa still of a divide, though the haves and the have-nots in terms of digital resources, and that it is an imperative for all involved that there should be digital justice in South Africa so that all children have the equal opportunities. And then you make the case for not only conducting research as a scholar, but publishing the research, disseminating the research, because that is the essence of scholarship. And you showed us that you are not just talking about it, you are indeed doing it. Well done.